Welcome to the Gwinnett County Board of Education's second public hearing on the GCPS 2026 redistricting. The meeting is now called to order. Dr. Taylor, I now turn the meeting over to you and your staff.
Thank you, Chair Dr. Simmons. We are here this evening to provide an overview of our final attendance boundary plan for the 2026-27 school year. The proposed boundary changes include the establishment of an attendance zone for our newest school, Dr. Mary K. Murphy Middle School. Tonight is the second of two public hearings required during this redistricting process. The redistricting recommendation for school year 2026-27 is scheduled for board approval on this evening's business agenda. Interim Chief Operations Officer Patrick Burke and his team will provide an overview this evening. Mr. Burke, please come forward at this time. That's his team.
Good evening. David Barber, Director of Planning, working with Mr. Burke, pulling all of our items together. We thank everyone for coming out and going ahead to why we are here, the priorities of this effort. The first priority is to open Dr. Mary K. Murphy Middle School. We must establish a new boundary for that middle school. That's first and foremost. Aligning the feeder pattern of the new middle school, and it will also, number two, provide relief to Alcova Elementary. We're sending some from Alcova to Decula to rebalance capacity utilization and use the Archer capacity to provide additional relief to Alcova. And then number three, provide immediate relief to the Grayson cluster. We have new capacity at Archer High School that opened this year. Murphy, of course, opens next fall, as does an addition at Harbins Elementary as well to help establish the new boundary for both Harbins Elementary and Murphy Middle School. They will create capacity at McConnell and Cooper with this relief, and I'm going to pass it over to my boss, Patrick Burke. Thank you, sir. Just right there.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Board members, Dr. Simmons, Chair Dr. Simmons, board members, Dr. Taylor, apologize I walked away just for a second. Picking up from the presentation Mr. Barber began, just a little bit of context of growth over the past couple years throughout Gwinnett County. What are we looking at here? This is a change in enrollment from 2021 to fall of this year. You'll notice the growth throughout the county, but you'll also notice growth within the area that we're talking about, the impacted area of this particular redistricting, this gray zone, along that boundary, largely among clusters. Grayson, of course, we've talked about this before in the last presentation. In 2021, there were 0 active trailers in Grayson cluster schools, and now we're up to 92. Archer cluster has also grown during this time frame. The SPLOST, the 2020 SPLOST, included 3 capital projects in this area. A new Mary K. Murphy, that's the middle school, Archer Middle School, it was named in a referendum, as well as Harbins Elementary and Archer High School additions. What the plan was back then was to build these classrooms to the east part of Archer with the idea that that would free up capacity near other clusters so that we would have more flexibility for growth. I'm not going to go over in detail the redistricting criteria. We've seen these seen this information before, but I do have it available if there are additional questions. The procedure we have in place really does 2 things. It creates criteria for decision making, and it also includes an engagement process. So what does successful engagement look like? Our process here in GCPS really starts about the September timeframe. So we assemble our redistricting committees. They are briefed on a draft redistricting plan. That information is shared on our website. This year we added a web tool so we could collect information directly from our community. In September to October, that's information collecting period, so we're receiving feedback from our committees. We're getting feedback from our web tool. We're up to about 1,151 comments were collected through the website. Of course, last month we saw the public forum that occurred on the 11th of November. And then we're here today for our final public hearing on the proposed redistricting, the recommended redistricting for next school year. We scheduled this on the December agenda very intentionally with the idea that the board take action in December so we can continue our allotment and budget processes. I'm going to quickly review the plan as it is right now based on the recommendation. So just orienting us to the map, the kind of brown reddish area, that's the new Mary Kay Murphy Middle School. And I'm going to start there. That was objective number 1, create that boundary. So 1.0 has, in the previous draft, and continues to be, an area that's zoned currently for Harbins Elementary School, so that's the Harbins Elementary School attendance zone. It is reassigned from McConnell to Murphy Middle School. And of course, that still goes to Archer High School. Area 1.3, that area too is unchanged in this plan. That is an area that's currently zoned for Cooper McConnell Archer that is rezoned to the new middle school. So the feeder pattern again is to move that area to Harbins Elementary, Murphy Middle, and it remains at Archer High School. Area 1.1 on previous maps, we have split that area based upon some community feedback. We've sort of listened and tried to make some adjustments to the plan. So area 1.1B joins 1.2 and is rezoned from Alcova, Decula Middle, Decula High School, to Harbins Elementary, Murphy Middle, Archer High School. 1.2 has always been a part of that plan, making that move. The 1.1B joins that. That used to be in a different direction, but there was some input about, why don't you take us together? We're right next to each other as neighborhoods. And then we'll talk about 1.1A here in a minute. This is the part that relieves Alcova Elementary School, so 6.1A, or 6.1 is also split into Part A and Part B. 6.1A continues consistent with the previous draft the board has seen. That area is redistricted from Alcova Elementary School, Decula Middle, Decula High, and the changes at the elementary level. It changes from Alcova to Decula Elementary. The other levels remain the same because it's all within the cluster. We did, under areas 6.1B and 1.1A, those are changes from the last draft plan, and the changes, there is no change. Those areas of the map continue to their existing schools. The purple here, I should have mentioned, highlights areas that changed from the previous draft. And then the last area of the map, this is area 1.4. This area is currently zoned for Tripp, Bay Creek Middle School, and Grayson. Under this plan and the previous recommendations, this area moves to Cooper Elementary, McConnell Middle School, and Archer High School. And we've looked at this issue as over time, that the urgency of it really is to try to relieve Bay Creek and Tripp immediately, provide some initial relief. We know we've got new additions coming at Tripp, Starling, and Bay Creek. We've got a reconfiguration at Grayson High School. Those are all going to provide capacity to Grayson cluster. It is not going to be sufficient to deal with the overcrowding. Redistricting will be required, and this is a step in that direction. This is the data we previously shared. We made some changes to how we presented it. Last time we were at the hearing, you might remember, you all were doing some math, so we did the math for you. What the chart here shows is enrollment based upon October FTE, capacity over under capacity based upon October FTE. Now that capacity number is based on next year's capacity, so those are the new additions. The redistricting change is the number of students that are moved. during this plan. You see the areas broken out, and we've added 1.1B and 6.1A. And those changes have been incorporated here. We've done the math in the 25.5 FTE adjusted October. Those are just moving existing kids based upon the redistricting change and then doing the calculation of over or under capacity. Next steps in the process. So this is the recommended redistricting plan that's scheduled under item 4.0 or 7.04 this evening. Plans are approved in December, as we've already mentioned. That keeps us on track for forecasts being delivered prior to the holiday break, and our processes that we use to do allotments and build our budgets. After this, we're already in the process of updating our 5-year enrollment forecasts. Those data become finalized after the winter break. That information is used to refine our capital plan. So this will be the first year we've brought the capital budget with the new eSPLOS to the board. That data helps guide our decision-making and prioritization for the schedule associated with new construction. That information will be presented to the board in the spring and is approved as part of the annual budget process. The annual process regarding redistricting then begins again. So we've done our analysis on the 5-year forecast. Once we have our schedule, classroom construction, of course we have a preliminary schedule in mind. We're making sure the cash and the budgets work. That information are inputs into our process to determine that next phase of redistricting. Ultimately, those items are brought to a superintendent for recommendation, and that information is shared with the board and our public as early as possible. Continuous quality improvement, just lessons learned from this process. We're investigating new methods to measure school capacity, so that's been a discussion point amongst our team members. And we're also exploring opportunities to expand community collaboration and engagement in future redistricting efforts. And with that, I will turn the presentation back over to Dr. Taylor and Board Chair Dr. Simmons.
Thank you so much, Mr. Burke and Mr. Barber. Next, we will have constituents' comments. Ashley Abuel, please approach the podium closest to you, and Manisha Patel, you are on deck at the other podium. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Ashley Abuel, and I'm here as a parent, homeowner, and a representative of several communities affected by this redistricting proposal: Central Park, Bennett Farm, and Eleonora. We are being rezoned for Archer. We wish to stay in Grayson. We first learned of this plan in late September. From the beginning, our communities engaged in good faith. We organized across neighborhoods, met repeatedly, filed open records requests, analyzed enrollment and capacity data, and worked diligently to understand the logic behind the proposed changes. We compiled our findings into a 23-page data-driven letter submitted to Dr. Taylor, the board, the planning department, and the planning committee on October 27th, with more than 200 residents signing on. Hundreds of families also provided feedback through the district's official survey. We were repeatedly told that revisions may be made in response to community input. That did not happen in any meaningful or transparent way. Despite having our feedback by the end of October, the public hearing on November 11th, the board meeting on November 20th, our meeting with GCPS leadership on December 2nd, countless emails and phone calls, the first official revision was not released until 10:30 this morning, the day of the hearing. Our neighborhoods in Area 1.4 remain on the map, even though there are many neighborhoods on the Archer side of Loganville Highway that are closer to all 3 Archer schools than we are in Area 1.4. The logic does not hold. Moving us will only provide a small amount of relief to the Grayson cluster. It also does not make sense to move kids from Grayson to Archer, where there is a lot more room for future housing developments. And as we know, builders like to build. It makes much more sense to redistrict other areas of Grayson to Central Gwinnett and South Gwinnett, where growth has slowed and there's plenty of capacity. For these reasons, we respectfully ask the board to vote no on Area 1.4 and remove our communities from this proposal. Doing so will not impact the opening of Murphy Middle School. We understand that GCPS plans to continue redistricting across the county. Our communities, organized respectfully, relied on data, proposed alternatives, and met directly with district leadership. If we could not influence this process, what hope does any community have in future redistricting efforts? If GCPS wants to earn and keep the trust of families, this process must change, because tonight, instead of talking about how we can partner with the district on long-term solutions such as responsible growth planning or legislative advocacy for school funding, I find myself questioning whether my family still has a future in GCPS at all. So that should be concerning to every leader in this room. Thank you.
I'm the resident of Central Park neighborhood in Grayson. I'm speaking on behalf of family and many family from Central Park, Eleanora, and Bennett neighborhood families who are directly affected by this proposed rezoning. I want to begin by acknowledging the time, effort, board, district staff have dedicated this time to process the repeated statements recognizing community involvement. Family appreciates being invited to share their voices. However, many of us are struggling with growing disconnect between what has been said and what is being decided. Our communities came together in an exceptional way, attending meetings, submitting feedback, proposing alternatives, and sharing deeply personal stories about our children. We were told our voices were heard, our unity was appreciated, and this level of engagement was meaningful, yet the current direction of the rezoning does not reflect the collective input in a tangible way. When appreciation is expressed but the decision moved forward largely unchanged, it feels almost dismissive rather than collaborative. Many families made major life decisions based on district-provided information, school boundaries, and academic performance data. We relied on that information in good faith when purchasing homes and committing ourselves to Grayson schools. The proposed rezoning, coming so soon after, has created significant disruptions and distress. For my family, this is deeply personal. My 5-year-old son, Krishan Munjal Patel, is autistic, nonverbal, and receives several through IEP at Tripp Elementary School. The structure and specialized support he receives there has been essential to his progress. For children with special needs, consistency is not optional, it is foundational. Based on research, community feedback, and conversation with families and educators, many of us are concerned whether schools and Archer clusters are currently equipped to support students with significant needs. Safety is also a serious concern. While 92 trailers have been cited as concerns in planning for you, the Archer cluster has documented safety incidents that cannot be ignored. Teachers, inappropriate incidents, relationship with students, a random person entering football court with firearm, and someone bringing weapon inside the school. These are real events that require law enforcement intervention, and you think Archer will be great options for us. And respectfully, please help me understand, make it make sense when Archer cluster is considered the best option for students like my son, while families continue to raise concerns about special education support, safety. If safety is a priority, why are these documented incidents not factored into decisions while trailers are considered the main issue? Families are also seeking clarity and consistency in how neighborhoods are being evaluated. The Independence neighborhood, located just 2 minutes from Central Park, has not been included in the proposed changes. We ask for transparency, how proximity. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Munjal Patel. I'm here to speak about the proposed redistricting plan, specifically Grayson Cluster, Central Park 1.4 on your redistricting plan. Redistricting is not just about lines on the map. It directly impacts families, students, and the integrity of the community. One of the most troubling aspects of the current proposed plan is the disregard of existing identifiable boundaries such as rivers, highways, major roads, and railroads. Criteria that is clearly listed as part of your plan. There are not they're not all they're not just dividers, there are real physical barriers that shape neighborhoods and daily life. Ignoring them creates hardship. Students forced to cross highways and roads face serious safety risk. Neighborhoods are split apart, weakening community identity. Families endure long commuting time, adding stress to daily routine. At the same time, overcrowding remains a pressing issue. In the Archer cluster alone, schools are rallying on over dozens of trailers each to house students. Archer High School, for example, approximately 14 trailers, while nearby elementary school in the cluster also depend on trailers to house classrooms. These trailers are visible signs of capacity planning is failing. They lack the safety, infrastructure, and premise of a real classroom. They send the message that some students are being asked to learn in the second-tier facilities. Redistricting that ignores natural boundaries while shifting students into already overcrowded trailer-dependent school does not solve the problem. It's simply moving it. These boundaries that you think they are helping the community, which they are not. You can clearly see we have been coming here repeatedly trying to bring this topic to you, and we want to feel like our voices are being heard. The board should hold off on the redistricting 1.4 until there is a better plan available to our mentioned concern.
Ashley Johnson Stewart next, followed by Courtney Stewart.
Good evening. This letter is written out of anger, frustration, and a profound loss of confidence in your leadership. The rezoning process for the Grayson cluster has been handled in a manner that is dismissive and fundamentally irresponsible. Your failure to operate with transparency and integrity has left families feeling misled, disregarded, and openly disrespected. The so-called public engagement surrounding this rezoning effort has been nothing more than a hollow exercise, and decisions appeared to be predetermined long before community input was solicited. This is not public service. It is governance by concealment. When parents and residents are expected to accept life-altering educational decisions without access to clear data, consistent reasoning, or a meaningful opportunity to influence outcomes, the process is broken by design. Your explanations for the Grayson cluster rezoning have been inadequate and at times contradictory. No coherent justification has been provided that explains why this cluster specifically was targeted, why viable alternatives were dismissed, or how the resulting disruption to students and families was deemed acceptable. Transportation impacts, feeder pattern instability, and students' welfare appear to have been treated as afterthoughts, if they were considered at all. Proceeding without full transparency or community buy-in demonstrates either a lack of foresight or a deliberate decision to ignore those consequences. Neither is acceptable. Your actions have severely damaged public trust. Many families now question whether this board and planning committee are capable of acting in good faith or whether decisions are driven by expediency, optics, or internal agendas rather than what is genuinely best for students. Leadership that refuses accountability forfeits legitimacy. Let this letter serve as formal notice that the Grayson cluster community is paying attention and will not quietly accept decisions made behind closed doors. We expect an immediate halt to the current rezoning plan. I have this on here once, I'm going to read it again. We expect an immediate halt to the current rezoning plan. We also expect a transparent reassessment conducted with genuine, documented incorporation of community input, which our three communities have done the work for you all. a public accounting of how student welfare, educational continuity, and community stability were evaluated, and why they were ultimately disregarded. This letter is not an appeal for reconsideration. It is a collective rejection of a process that has failed the families it claims to serve. We expect competent leadership, honest communication, and decisions grounded in transparency and accountability. Anything less is unacceptable.
Redistricting is a process that must be led with transparency, integrity, empathy, and equity. The plan for Area 1.4 falls short of those principles. The Archer District land area spans nearly double Grayson's. Archer is already larger but more dispersed and forecasted for rapid growth. This proposal violates basic planning principles. Archer already has to spread its resources over longer distances and is not designed to absorb additional students efficiently. Longer bus rides means higher transportation and maintenance costs. How is this fiscally responsible? Gwinnett residents voted yes for East Bluffs, trusting that these funds would be used wisely. The plan for Area 1.4 shifts overcrowding from one cluster to another and appears to be a socio-economic game for boosting ratings. When it comes to equity, according to the Gwinnett County Public School redistricting criteria, proximity and existing identifiable boundaries such as major highways should be used when making decisions. In the Decula redistricting plan, the Planning Committee strategically chose not to have the Archer District cross over Highway 316 to alleviate Decula's overcrowding. Loganville Highway has always been a clear, identifiable boundary for the Archer District. Historically, Archer has never crossed Loganville Highway, reaffirming its status as a boundary. Yet this current proposal violates your own proximity criteria. It also highlights the unequal, discriminating, and selective application of redistricting standards. Why was proximity respected in Decula plan but disregarded in the Grayson plan? Criteria must be applied fairly and consistently. Unless the board has voted to change the redistricting criteria, any plan that blatantly violates that criteria should not be considered viable. Now, when it comes to integrity and transparency, and trying to understand this plan, which made absolutely no logistical, geographical, or financial sense, we did submit several open records requests. One of those requests were for emails and communications regarding our community's concerns about preferential treatment of certain subdivisions, which resulted in nearly 58,000 results. And we were informed that it would cost us nearly $33,000 to obtain that information. Now ask yourself, how does a search about 3 subdivisions generate 58,000 records? Yet we were told the decision was simply made because we're the furthest from the schools. This lack of transparency will only deepen community distrust. In the healthcare community, we assess risk versus benefit, and when the risk outweighs the benefit, we reassess. Today's risk of rezoning Area 1.4 outweighs its benefits. Please vote no for the proposed redistricting of Area 1.4. Redistricting should not be rushed. More time is needed for a long-term collaborative solution that is truly will address overcrowding. Thank you.
Viswanath, followed by Amma Karanchi.
That's close enough, thank you. Good evening, members of the board and everyone present. I'm Ganapati Vishwanathan, a parent representing families in Central Park, Bennett Farm, and Eleonora. We moved to Central Park in Loganville for one reason, the main reason, to be in the Grayson cluster, which includes Tripp Elementary, Bay Creek Middle, and Grayson High. Families like ours purchased homes based on the schools assigned by the county and the board. We trusted you, and that trust is now at risk. Under the current plan, my child is set to go to Bay Creek in 2026 and then Grayson High. But the rezoning and also the published draft maps that we saw today appears to move us towards Cooper, McConnell, and Archer High. This is a sudden, disruptive shift with no time to prepare or plan. At the minimum, families like us deserve a phased approach or exemptions for those already zoned. This isn't just about the lines on a map, as Patel also mentioned. It's about academic continuity, emotional stability, and financial security. Grayson's strong programs prepare students for college. Disrupting that risks progress and well-being. Stress on families means stress on students. We also feel blindsided. Why were we assigned to Grayson as recently as 2023 when we bought our homes in Central Park if overcrowding had already started, like the data shows? Why should we be punished for planning decisions we didn't make? Families bought homes based on those assignments. And for months, families have spent countless hours researching, analyzing data, presenting solutions to the board because we believed our voices mattered. Ignoring that effort would send the message that community input is meaningless. Commutes matter too. Grayson High is literally walking distance. Archer adds 15 to 20 minutes driving one way, increasing traffic risk. There was an accident, serious accident at 6 o'clock today at that junction between Loganville Highway and Hoko Kelly Road. So commutes matter. And then there's a financial impact. Homes could lose value up to 10% or more, and that can take away millions of dollars of equity from these families. There are also better solutions, rebalance within the cluster, exempt current families and only applied new zones to future residents, review residency affidavits, enforce them, target rebalancing closer to central Gwinnett. There are many number of ways to do this. Other districts across the country have paused or scaled back rezoning when parents spoke up. We hope you will do that too. With new capacity in 2026, we urge for you to pause or exempt current families. At least give us a 2 to 5 year window to plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amma. You're up next, followed by Joe Wilson. Amma Karanki. Joe Wilson. After Joe Wilson, we'll hear from Brianna Clark.
Good afternoon. My name is Joe Wilson, resident of Bennett Farm over in Loganville. We are obviously impacted by this most recent rezone. And, you know, my family and I, we actually were recently a homeowner over right there next to Tripp Elementary at a subdivision where we were there for approximately 10 years. And during our time there, we would have seen several renters come from other sides of the Metro Atlanta area. And, you know, we saw this trend happen where a lot of others are saying, hey, we want to come over here for the schools. We want to come over here for, we heard Grayson schools are great. And, you know, seeing that trend and the writing on the wall, we were just like, hey, we want to make sure we live in a subdivision where obviously our neighbors to our left and our right aren't renters, you know, no offense, but, you know, we see others coming in from other counties benefiting from the schools. We moved to a home in the Bennett Farm area here most recently this summer with all intents to stay within the same Tripp Elementary area. And to get this rezoning is just a complete, utter disappointment all the way around. I mean, we live in the Metro Atlanta area, right? We know roughly, 5,000 new people come to Metro Atlanta every month, right? You know, Atlanta is growing. We know Gwinnett County is growing at a rapid pace. And, you know, knowing that, you know, I take it back to an analogy, right? We all here, I'm sure we all, you know, a lot of parents here have been obviously inside of a hospital where we had to give birth to our children, right? Well, guess what? That hospital knows, you know, there are always going to be new moms, new parents coming around, right? They're not going to turn them away. They're going to make adequate budgets to accommodate those new babies coming into the world. And my question to you is, why couldn't we make the same type of budgeting and infrastructure for this, you know, new growth that we knew was developing as early as 2011? Seeing that rapid growth, I think, is something that was ill prepared. And now we're just going to make such a vast and quick change. It's going to drastically impact our kids. You know, in closing, I wear many hats. I'm a coach. I'm a basketball coach for a lot of my teams in the Gwinnett area. We work here, we live here, we play here. And it's just really unfortunate that the money that we spend, the tax dollars that we spend, we're not going to be able to benefit them, because I'm pretty sure Gwinnett County is benefiting from all of those new builders and the new bids that are being approved, just like it is most recently a bid to a new subdivision being built right across the street from Tripp Elementary. I'm sure they're going to be zoned for Grayson. So it's just unfortunate that we have to be subjected to such, and we would really ask that you guys
so much, Mr.
postpone this
Wilson.
for at least 2 years.
Next up,
Thank you.
we'll hear from Brianna Clark, followed by A. Trinice Morgan. Brianna Clark. A. Trinice Morgan, are you here? After we hear from Ms. Morgan, we'll hear from Dorkeisha Hill.
Good evening, Board, Planning Committee, and stakeholders, especially my fellow residents of Central Park, Grayson. I am Dr. Trinice Morgan, and I come to you with a heavy heart, anxious about the outcome of today's very important board decision. I value this opportunity to be heard regarding the district's plans to move my community from Grayson to the Archer cluster. Malala once said, "When the world is silent, even one voice becomes powerful." I can only be optimistic of what this collective voice will be able to achieve. I watched my neighbors speak at the last meeting while I supported as a bystander. Today, I'm coming off the sidelines to share my unique perspective as both the community resident, formerly the HOA president, and as an employee at Grayson High School. Unlike most of my neighbors, I must admit that I was not intentional about moving into the Grayson cluster. I stumbled upon what I now know is a gold mine of academic and athletic excellence, nestled within a stunning facility and some of the most caring and capable educators I have ever encountered. Excellence is expected from the custodial and food service staff to the certified educators and leaders that serve our children on a daily basis. Admittedly, I address this audience from a place of privilege because my daughter gets to attend Grayson as long as I work there. But if I ever leave Grayson High School, I want my daughter Adeline to be able to experience being a student at the building she has come to know and love with people who have watched her growth over the past years. As someone who works closely with families who enter Grayson, I want to share with you what I see on a daily basis. I get to witness how they arrive, and I get to hear why they are here. The stories are incredible. I see students moving from other districts because of the reputation that precedes their enrollment. I see families who are desperate for a change of environment because they believe our school is somehow going to be a magic fix for all of their existing challenges. And they currently face them with their student. And guess what? They might actually get it. Our intervention and support staff is second to none. I see families who move across the country to take part in Grayson's stellar athletic programs. Shout out to all of the students. I ask that you all do a few things, please, today, no matter which way the vote goes. Help alleviate some of the overcrowding by honoring the school's professional decision when we reroute families to their neighborhood school who show up with suspicious documentation. Lower the amount of time we provide for families to update expired leases. And when the calls come, as they most certainly will, supporting us by reinforcing that tough conversation with families and by highlighting why the district as a whole is great, including their home school. My 23 years in education has taught me that if we ensure students attend their zone schools, tardiness will decrease, absenteeism will become less pervasive, and the number of disciplinary infractions will improve.
Thank you so much. Dorkeisha Hill.
Thank you, Board. Can't use this paper because this was planned for another reason before we found out that the results posted online weren't true. So forgive me, I'll be reading from my phone. So I want to thank you again for the opportunity to provide a brief follow-up as it appears the current rezoning map may move forward without revision. I respectfully ask the Board to consider holding our 3 neighborhoods in 1.4 out of the redistricting for at least a period of 2 years. This would give families the time to adjust and allow the district to better assess enrollment trends, especially when this move will not meaningfully resolve overcrowding. I would like to put 2 items in address to put on the record. First is the impact on overcrowding and trailers. If the purpose of the rezoning is student safety and reducing the 92 trailers in the Grayson cluster, why has this specific impact of moving our 3 neighborhoods out of the cluster not been shared publicly? If removing us will not eliminate a meaningful number of trailers, or will it just simply shift the problem to another cluster? Families deserve clarity about what this rezoning is actually solving. Second is equity and demographic impact. Was demographic impact evaluated in this decision? The neighborhoods proposed for removal include a high number of families of color who intentionally chose the Grayson cluster, while neighborhoods farther away in different zip codes remain untouched. I am not inserting intent, but I am asking whether disparate impact was considered and whether that analysis can be shared publicly. Sadly, I also have to ask if it is simply because we do not have enough star players in our subdivision to be treated fairly. Sadly, I was disheartened to hear that the school district, that the school impact, lastly, I was disheartened to hear that the school impact fees have not been meaningfully discussed due to concerns about deterring developers. Families should not have to continue to absorb the cost of unchecked development through overcrowding trailers and repeated rezoning. Impact fees help ensure growth is responsible and that our children are prioritized over profit. I respectfully ask the board to delay rezoning for the affected neighborhoods, share transparent data, evaluate equity impact, and pursue planning policies that prevent families from repeatedly paying the price for growth decisions that they did not create. Our children deserve stability, transparency, and thoughtful leadership. Thank you for your time and your service to our children.
Thank you all for your comments. Now we will have remarks and comments from our board members.
Thank you, Chairwoman Dr. Simmons. And I just want to thank everyone who came here today and made their voices heard. I am going to reserve most of my comments for the business meeting ahead of the vote. So there will be a motion and then an opportunity for board members to discuss. So I will reserve the rest of my remarks until then.
I just want to say thank you to everyone who came out, all the hard work that you've put in, all of the research, the various things. I want to thank our planning committee as well for the hard work that they've put in. And I'm going to allow some of the things that we'll probably be able to talk about between now and the vote. I want to hear a little bit more from Ms. Stone. I think that at the end of the day, we all have the best in mind for all 180,000 students that are here in Gwinnett County. And not every decision is an easy one. But I do appreciate everything that you've put into bringing us your sentiments, your comments, and I look forward to future opportunities to interact with you.
Yeah, thank you to our team for all the efforts you guys put into coming back to the community with some of your revisions, and thank you to our community for all the hard work you all put into your due diligence and the effort and the research you have all done, not only as individual neighborhoods, but coming together as a collective to make your voice heard. And it is important, and this is an extremely tough decision. And we look at it as trying to redistrict an effort for to open one middle school, but you realize that it's impacting a massive portion of our school system, and this is not something that I take lightly. And I know it's at the end of the day, it's something we have to do to balance attendance at our school, and of course alleviate some of the overcrowding. But again, this impacts Ms. Stone's district heavily, and I'd love to kind of hear what her thoughts are around it, because it greatly impacts her district, and want to coalesce my thoughts and feelings around where she's coming from, and see if we can make this work, whatever that looks like later on in our business meetings. So again, thank you for making this your voices heard, and this is truly something that is a tough decision. And just know that this is something that we will, in years to come, we have to look at a bigger redistricting process too across the entire school system as things start growing and changing, and Gwinnett is growing and it's getting bigger. So that's something we're constantly looking at. So, looking forward to those future discussions. So thank you.
Thank you all for speaking tonight and sharing your truth. We've heard from many of you all at our board meeting last month, at the last hearing I listened to remotely and heard your stories. We've also seen your emails, and I must say the power of community voice is really important. And to see and to witness how you all have come together as a community to have this shared value around protecting your needs and your wants. And I just want to uplift the power of your voices and how we respect and we hear you. And I want to encourage you all also to continue to share your feedback with the board, continue to share your feedback as a community, and because there is a power in the people. Having said that, I also want to just share my understanding around equity and around this Grayson area and how many people, and just hearing your stories, you all have this similar through line around moving to this area because of the great schools, moving to the area because of the community and the value of homes. And just thinking about our businesses and how our investors are also investing in these areas. They are intentionally investing in the Grayson area because there is value in investing in the area, because of the growth, because of the great schools, the great community. Grayson will continue to grow. And so when I hear you all talk about truth and transparency, I do believe that it is important for us as a board and our school system to be truthful around this process, and to also make sure that we have a fair engagement process that is really authentically listening to your voices and inclusive of how you feel. I do think that there have been some opportunities that we've missed, hearing your stories, hearing sort of some gaps. I heard transportation concerns. When we think about equity, we want to make sure that all of our students have access to transportation where you don't have to be riding on a bus for a long time, but where we have equitable transportation distance. I also heard the lack of authentic engagement, and where some of you all said you felt that this was a dismissive process because you felt like you've communicated, you share your voices. And I think it's important for you to know that we are hearing you, we're listening to you. This is maybe there aren't any words that I can say, but us as a board, the actions that we can take to build your trust is going to have to be intentional efforts around engaging your voices and community and really authentically doing the work to make sure this process, it does not happen like this again. It is, however, inevitable that there will be some change in the future, and I think that you all understand that. We have to reduce our class sizes. We have to eliminate our trailers. And this is the really difficult part of the work. And this is the truth of the work. The truth of the matter is we are in a difficult position as board members, sitting here grappling with your truth and grappling with the truth around the district and the development and the business community and our school overcrowding, and also grappling with the truth of like our district trying to really already putting in a lot of work and research and effort. And so there are so many multiple truths, but at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we're making the right decision that's in the best interest of our children, centering the needs of them. And when we do that, there is a direct correlation. I think someone said, Dr. Morgan maybe, I think you mentioned about discipline and class sizes and trailers and safety. Those things are absolutely important. And so I appreciate your voices and want to continue to encourage you all to allow us to rebuild trust. allow us to rebuild what we need to so that you all have confidence in our board. Thank you.
I'd like to thank you all for coming out this evening to once again share your insights, your perspectives, your findings. You've delivered an argument that our board will need to think about, dissect, and consider. This idea of redistricting really pits equity against empathy in an essence. I empathize with you all. I have 2 students in Gwinnett County Public Schools. While I'm not impacted this year, my cluster's going to be impacted at some point too. So I understand the difficulties, the complexities, the nuances. So there's the empathy part, and then there's the equity part around what's best for students. And as a board, we're committed to reducing trailer sizes because we don't feel that is best for students when it comes to safety, when it comes to having high quality environments. Our desire is to get our students inside of classrooms consistently across the district. So that's what makes this a hard decision for me. What we are tasked with is not easy, as you've heard. It's not easy. It's not going to be an easy decision. Nobody likes change except for a baby with a wet diaper. That's something that's sat with me for decades now. In this situation that we're presented with, it really is, it's going to be a tough decision. But I feel that at the end of the day, we're going to do what's in the best interest of our kids, the best interest of our families. We appreciate you all coming out and sharing your feedback. I appreciate the hard work of our district and providing us their recommendations. And with that, we will look forward to providing more feedback this evening as we make the vote. If there are no further comments and no further business, board members, I need a motion to adjourn this meeting.
A second.
I make a motion that we adjourn the second public hearing of the GCPS 2026 redistricting.
I have a motion by Mr. Gasper. Is there a second? Dr. Therese?
Second.
The motion is seconded by Dr. Therese. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. It is unanimous. This meeting is adjourned.